So, welcome everyone. My name is Van Espavodi. I am the co-founder of Starburst. We are a aerospace accelerator dedicated to supporting innovation from entrepreneurs across aviation, space, and defense sectors. We have partnered with NASA and the Science Mission Directorate in particular to launch what is known as the Entrepreneurs Challenge. Today is our first Ask Me Anything session, which we've seen a lot of questions back and forth since our announcement just over a week ago on details on how to get involved, and we are joined by our friends over at NASA in the Challenge Department, in the Science Mission Directorate, the Technology Office, who will answer some of these questions today. Mike Seablum is our prestigious guest on helping us answer some of these questions. Just a quick anecdote from me before we get started. I think in the last year, we've seen a lot of government agencies demonstrate interest in supporting entrepreneurs, but I just want to remind everyone that NASA has been an incredible champion for many more years. I think you can attribute the success of companies like SpaceX due to programs like this and other businesses going towards entrepreneurs and startups. So we are very grateful to continue to pull on that thread and branch out in how can we continue to invite companies to bring their game-changing capabilities, their product development, and non-traditional investment into this domain to continue to support how NASA contracts and does business with early stage businesses like yourselves, as well as larger enterprises that have advanced concepts, capabilities that are working with early stage businesses. But really, we are keeping a broad, open message for inviting anyone that can help us address the three topics that we have referenced today. So with that, I'll just jump to the first slide. Just to give you paint you a picture of the schedule that we're facing for the next couple of months. The plan is ultimately, and we'll dive into specifics of how this is going to be worked, but we are just a couple of weeks in since announcing the actual challenge itself. We are accepting applications through a couple more weeks, June 26th, where then we will spend just a little over a couple of weeks evaluating the white papers that do get submitted, ultimately to get presented orally during an event that will be done virtually, that will feed into an acquisition process or procurement process that NASA does through SBIR, that will be done at the Innovation Opportunity Conference. The speakers today will highlight a little bit more detail into this process, but I just wanted to say welcome. And with that, I'll invite Mike to introduce himself and share a little bit more about what he's hoping to achieve with this program. Please, Mike.
Van, thank you very much. Really glad to be here, and I'm glad to have the Starburst team on board to help us with the Entrepreneurs Challenge. This is the first time we've done anything like this, and I want to emphasize we are calling it a pilot. Because we have never done anything quite like it before. It's a prize competition. It's very different from any type of solicitation. Normally we do solicitations in Science Mission Directorate. So this is a different approach to getting new ideas into our portfolio. And the portfolio itself is about, in the Science Mission Directorate, is about $250 million worth of technology projects across 15 different programs. We have 4 research divisions in the Science Mission Directorate: heliophysics, earth science, astrophysics, and planetary science. And each one of those divisions, each one of those research divisions has its own set of technology programs. We looked across these programs and we noticed that there were very few early stage companies, very few startups. And over the course of the past 2 years, I've spoken with a number of small businesses at conferences or They've actually come down to headquarters to give seminars or on other business. And one thing we're learning is that our process is not really amenable to small businesses who are concerned with cash flow and who don't have a lot of time to write lengthy proposals and wait what in our case can be up to 11 months before we turn around a decision and then a few more months to implement a grant, or even worse, a contract could take even longer. So what we have to do right now is to kind of leapfrog over all of that. What we really want to hear are your ideas. And we don't need to go through that entire process just to hear ideas. So think of this as an extended elevator pitch. In this 5-page proposal that we've asked you to write, we want to hear the basics of your concept that'll address these 3 topic areas, which I'll talk about in just a minute. The first area, or the first thing we want to do is take a look at these white papers and just get a feel for what your ideas are. And then the white papers should also give us some confidence that you have the technical expertise to address the problem at hand. So if you can do that, then I think that will go a long way to getting to the first stage of this process. So the first stage being the 5-page white paper. The 3 topic areas are transfer learning and artificial intelligence. There are earth science applications and astrophysics applications mentioned for that topic. The second topic was quantum sensors. In this context, quantum sensors are defined to be manipulation of quantum states of matter through the effects of superposition or entanglement. So we're not talking about a laser, which is a quantum device. We're really talking about what is known in the industry as quantum 2.0, where we're actually manipulating photons or atoms using entanglement, using qubits, using quantum properties. And it doesn't have to be an end-to-end system. It could be elements of your company may develop pieces of these systems. So we're interested in that as well. And along the same lines, for life detection, we're looking for in the topic area of mass spectrometers. Again, those could be quantum devices, or it could be elements, lasers, that or ion traps, things that compose the mass spectrometers. It doesn't have to be the complete end-to-end system. So the purpose of this is to really read 5-page elevator pitch, extended elevator pitch, we'll call it, understand what concept you have. We've provided you links to our decadal survey documents so that you understand what problems we're trying to solve, and those are fairly broad. So hopefully you'll be able to link up your solution to those problems. So the first stage of this is really addressing the concept. We have a panel of experts who will review the 5-page white papers. And then for those proposals that we feel are worthy of a second round, the phase 2 will be an oral pitch event. We had initially envisioned that to be a pitch day type event, a Shark Tank-like event in person. We were going to have beer and food and everything. Under the circumstances, we can't do that, but we'll do the next best thing. We'll do a virtual event. And again, we're fortunate to have our friends from Starburst Accelerator who've done these events before, and they know how to pull them off. So after the selections are made from the white papers, if you make it to the second round, you'll get instructions on how to prepare for the oral presentation for the pitch day. So if you're selected from the pitch day, We expect to down select from perhaps 20 of the white papers to 10 uh, selectees from round 2, which is the pitch day. And there will be a $20,000 prize for those awardees. Like Van mentioned, in the fall, we have the Innovation Opportunity Conference that is sponsored by our SBIR program. And what we'd like you to do between the time of the pitch day, the round 2 awards, fleshing out of the ideas, the concepts, and give us a more detailed proposal for how you would go about building on your concept. And for those 10 awardees, we will review those ideas. And for those who receive a minimum number of points in the judging, we will award up to $80,000 for those fleshed out proposals. And it could be a subset of the 10, or it could be all 10. It doesn't matter. The real value here, I think, is you'll get a chance to meet the NASA program managers. You'll get to understand our problems a little bit better. And we can talk to you about our programs. And if you have questions about how to put together a formal proposal and submit it through our regular solicitation process, which we hope this process that we're doing now will make you aware of our technology programs and what they have to offer. And with the prize money, that might help provide you with the ability to put together a proposal. The prize money is not dedicated toward anything. You can spend it as you see fit. But we're hoping that it will at least give you some flexibility so that you'll be in a position to write a proposal to one of our regular programs. So I look at this as really an on-ramp ability to get into our regular programs. With that, I'll introduce Steve Rader, who is from our Prizes and Challenges office. And Steve, I don't know if you have any extra things that you'd like to say, or perhaps there's something I missed. I'll turn it over to you.
No, we're really excited about this program. So I'm with the Prizes and Challenges group at NASA, where we have the NASA Tournament Lab and Centennial Challenges and a number of the prize programs. And we're really excited about what Science Mission Directorate's doing here. We try to actually engage in a lot of this kind of work around the agency, and this is some of the first times we're doing that in SMD, and we're really excited. And startups are the engine behind a lot of what's going on in the world, a lot of the technology boom that's going on, and we're excited that we're finally figuring out how to tap into that in better ways. So we're excited about it, and hopefully this will be a great experience for everyone involved. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike and Steve. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Sarah Childs, who will moderate some questions that were submitted in advance and ask you and Mike and your team, Steve and Florence, to address some of the points that were brought up. Sarah, are you available?
Yeah, I just turned off my video in the name of bandwidth. Don't have no fear, I'm here. Yeah, so as far as an agenda goes for today, we've kind of segmented the questions into different topic areas. So those relating to the topics discussed in the solicitation, the review process, the application requirements, and then we have a few that are miscellaneous. And in addition, if we do have extra time, please use the Q&A feature and we can ask some of those questions that are asked live. But we really appreciate everybody asking questions in advance, and we do have quite a few to go through. So we will just get started. So let's start with the topics issue. So first being the physics-based transfer of learning in the AI topic. The first question is, it seems that there are multiple interpretations of the physics-based transfer of learning topic. Is the interest in non-transfer learning AI only in physics-based AI? Or is the interest mainly in transfer learning, not more general AI?
Okay, so let me start by saying I did mention this is a pilot program, and we may not be able to answer all of the questions in this session. So some of them we may have to take offline, and we will post the answers to the question after the fact. This particular question I can answer. We are looking for more advanced applications of AI. That's why we use the term transfer learning specifically. Had we just said, give us an AI proposal, we were fearing a flood of applications. We're really looking for something a little bit different than just an application of machine learning. We have a number of our scientists are now using TensorFlow in their work, for example. That's not something we would consider to be novel. So we're looking for novel applications. Transfer learning is one in particular, which I don't think we have a lot of experience with. So it doesn't have to just be that, but if you feel it's something novel, it's better to err on the side of making a submission rather than not.
Okay, so diving into that a bit deeper in terms of applications or actually source of information for those technologies, is the interest in Earth observation and disaster management systems primarily in satellite-based systems, or is aerial imagery collection and processing of interest okay as well?
We have an aircraft program in Earth sciences as well. We'd be happy to include that. It's not satellite only.
Okay, great. So then, is the main interest in physics-based modeling of the phenomena being detected / observed? I'm not sure that I understand that question. Or would there also be interest in AI that understands the physics of the collection process and collection platform trajectory as that relates to accurate collection and modeling of the environment? Now I understand it. Okay.
Yes, we would be interested in the latter.
Okay, great. And then for Earth observation applications, is this constrained to onboard platform data processing only? Or does this include cloud-based AI software applications that run on collections of remote sensing imagery?
So the response from the person who's leading this area is the focus area will include two components, on the ground and then on board. It is assumed that novel sensors data analysis is trained on the ground using historical data. Then transfer learning is performed using the physical characteristics of the novel sensor. The transfer learning may happen on the ground or autonomously on board. The model is assumed to then run autonomously on board. If needed, an appropriate cloud-based training can be included.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely sounds like it covers it. And then maybe this is a question for you as well, Florence, but as it relates to applications specifically for the AI and mass spectrometry topics, are there certain applications specifically that are of interest?
So let me introduce Florence Tan, who is our Deputy Chief Technologist from the Science Mission Directorate and an expert on mass spectrometers.
So hi, everyone. Welcome. We don't have any limitations on the types of technology for this mass spectrometer. Certainly, if you're going to use AI to say, technology to mine mass spectrometry data, that's also very much acceptable.
Okay, great, thank you. And then in terms of technology readiness level, this one is specifically related to the quantum sensors track, but I think it's also applicable to all three. So is there a certain TRL that we should be aiming for? Does it want to be on the lower or higher side? Or can it be across the spectrum of TRL?
It can be across the spectrum.
Okay. And then for the AI topic area, I guess the overall question is how broadly interpreted can these topic areas be? So the question specifically was relating to the AI topic areas. Are enabling technologies applicable as well, like processing units or anything like that, that is specifically enabling onboard AI?
Processing units. Well, it has to be something novel. It cannot be something we're buying off the shelf and applying to a problem. It has to really be I hate to use the term game changer. So I don't know if that answers it. I don't want to be too restrictive. So if it's something new, something that we haven't seen before and addresses our problems, I would go ahead and submit the idea. The nice thing about this is 5 pages. It won't. If you're not sure whether or not to submit, it's probably better to submit. You know, if we don't like it, don't worry, we'll filter it out.
Okay. Yeah. So from my interpretation of this question, or from working with this company, understanding them in the past, is it is a novel processing technology that the research has been done in partnership with the DoD. So it would be a novel approach to the processing. They're just wondering.
Submit. Yeah.
Okay. I guess is it beyond just the algorithms themselves? Okay.
If it enables artificial intelligence, it enables transfer learning, I think it's fine.
Great. So that's the questions that we had that relate to the topics themselves. Now we'll jump into the process, which you kind of did a review of, Mike, with the multiple rounds and the $20,000 versus $80,000. So this first question, in the description of round 2 in the challenge overview, it's mentioned, or they may choose to submit a proposal to one of SMD's 15 established technology programs. Can you please state specifically the names of the programs? Perhaps we can share a link directly to those programs. Is there a place where people can visit them?
Yeah, we can post that as a link.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the ROSES elements. There are many ROSES elements, but 15 of them are technology. So I think we could pull out the 15 and identify them, but we'd have to post that as a link.
Okay. And what sort of contracting vehicle is used? Is that an SBIR program, or is it some other avenue?
So the direction to go after this prize, I think there could be more, but 2 obvious paths. One is SBIR. The other is to write a proposal directly to one of those 15 programs. SBIRs, I believe, are contracts, and we use grants for the technology programs in SMD.
Okay. And then this is differentiating between the round 2 and round 3. So the rules state that in round 2, the judging panel will select up to 10 finalists receiving best scores to receive prize awards of $20,000 each, based on the same scoring methodology in round 1. It goes on to say round 2 prize winners will submit a white paper that describes their concept in more detail to be eligible for an additional $80K in prize funding. The judging criteria for round 1 will be repeated, and the winners will be the top 10 selected for those proposals receiving at least 40 points from the scoring process. So if only 10 teams make it to round 2, does that mean they're automatically in the top 10 for round 3?
That means they're eligible for the 80K. All 10 are eligible for the 80K, and all 10 might get the 80K. If we do the judging on their second write-up and they get 40 points, they'll get 80K.
Okay. So that's it for the process review. So we only have one question in terms of the application requirements. And here's quite a broad question for you. How professional should the solution be? And I guess the interpretation of that being the application itself. And then also maybe that relates to TRL a bit, but I think there's a broad question for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand how professional. I mean, if the question is, should the 5-page write-up be casual prose, I would say no. That's not going to help. I would write it. Yeah, it should be professionally done. Not overly formal, but the goal here is to make it easy, right? The goal here is really to make it easy for us to hear your ideas. But if if it's written in crayon or something, it's not not necessarily a good thing. The way it's written will reflect, I think, on the proposer. So I think it should be written in a professional manner.
So, and just to add in, it's in the beauty contest, so we're not looking for beauty, but it needs to clarity, right? Clarity and understanding. Substance over beauty probably is the way to say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess relating to that,
I will say this. I know a lot of reviewers. I've been on a lot of review panels, and if there are grammatical errors, a lot of the reviewers really don't like that. So I would check for things like that.
Okay, and so one more on the formatting side, I guess. Are there strict limits to the 5-page threshold, since diagrams, etc., would exceed yet help communicate complex solutions, or would it be recommended to attach as an appendix?
We're not reading page 6. Okay, that we have limited resources. We have limited number of reviewers. We just want to hear an idea. It's an elevator pitch. If you can't give us the elevator pitch in 5 pages, then you want to go to another solicitation, perhaps.
Okay. Then the next few are kind of miscellaneous. Let's talk about IP. So are there any rules regarding IP assignment? So I assume that's after some sort of project has been executed.
Steve, please, you're the expert here. The companies keep the IP, right?
Yeah, according to the Competes Act, which we're using to execute this, the IP will actually remain with the teams. However, your question here is your IP safe when you share it with us? And the answer is yes. As civil servants, we are bound without even requiring an NDA. We are not allowed to disclose confidential information. You should mark anything particular that is confidential, just so that there's no confusion. But generally speaking, we as civil servants are not allowed to. And I believe all of our contractors, we sign into that same agreement. So I believe Sunburst and the rest are not allowed to share anything that they see. So on both fronts, both in the ownership, afterwards you maintain that, and none of the evaluators are going to take your idea and go pursue it. We would be breaking the law. And we don't do that. We like to not do that.
So I think we specified we did not want proprietary information in these write-ups, right? I think we did say that. And again, it's an elevator pitch. So if you have the secret sauce, you don't have to tell us about what's inside the secret sauce. Just tell us you have it. Tell us why, you can prove that it works, and later on we can deal with that. But right now we just want to hear your ideas.
One more thing beyond that too to keep in mind is that on the pitch day itself, it'll be open to beyond NASA, so venture capitalists, industry folks, those type of things. So it's important, again, not to disclose any sort of IP there. Right. I think that was another complete concern too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. So a question one company has is we have 4 separate patent pending supported submissions that are all AI related. Basically, can they submit more than one proposal?
Steve, any thoughts?
Don't recall anything in our rules that say you cannot. And so unless you can think of a reason why not, if they want to submit 4, we can't guarantee which ones will win or if anyone will win. But
yeah, I don't have a problem with it myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I think this was from the same company as well. So in some cases, we're bidding on various NASA, SBIR, and JAIC related opportunities. Are there rules which prohibit the submissions of this challenge if concurrently submitted to SBIR or JAIC?
So we're talking to all of those people. We will, I would say, send the proposal in to us, and we will walk the halls appropriately and determine the best thing to do. It's not going to be, there's not going to be a risk of, double funding or anything.
The government generally does not like to pay for the same thing twice. So, yeah.
Okay, so SBIR, they're part of this. So if they're, I mean, we will be checking very carefully for all the submissions that come in. We'll be checking the databases to see where else the author may have submitted. It has to be distinct. I mean, we can't be funding the same thing with two programs, like Steve said, and we'll make sure that that doesn't happen.
Okay, and then this was beyond. They just said that they've received a prior SBIR phase 1. I'm not sure if that was NASA or if that was Air Force, etc. So if say they've received an Air Force SBIR or they're working on some sort of AFWERX contract, can they still apply here?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last question we had that was submitted was, are there any rules regarding using NASA's name in their PR materials once they've A, submitted, or B, say received the round 1 prize money?
Steve?
Sure. There are. You can look up on NASA's site, and we can probably provide you a link to kind of the guidelines about using the NASA insignia. I will say in the past, lawyers have been very rabid about that and making sure that people did not use it inappropriately. I will say in this particular leadership is easing off on that. And so I will just leave it with that. We now have the worm back. So there's all sorts of new stuff going on out there. But if you want to stay strictly legal, make sure you look at the branding guidelines that NASA provides.
All right, so that was it for the questions we received beforehand. I do see that there's one question in the Q&A, and attendees, if you have any questions, please use that Q&A feature before we close up. So this is from Ross Tierney, and they say they have a game-changing infrastructure solution that isn't a perfect fit necessarily for any of the categories, but it would bring major benefits to all of them. Should we apply under the closest category, in our case, AI learning, and just make mention of the beneficial aspects that affect the other categories?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever you think is best, we'll figure out what to do with it.
Okay. That is all, and Ross says thank you. So that's all the questions I see in the Q&A. Oh, there's one more. Are there restrictions in partnerships with foreign companies? So say it's a US-based entity, but they might partner on some aspects with a foreign company. Are there restrictions there?
Again, I'll refer to Steve.
I don't believe, as long as you've got the U.S. component, there are certain laws that all U.S. entities have to follow. Like you can't bring a North Korean onto your team and expect that to fly. But it doesn't have to be a total all U.S. team, I believe. At least that in other prizes, we simply can only pay a U.S. team. So the core team has to be here in the U.S. or here through a legal residency program.
Okay, and I got in the chat, so what qualifies as an early stage company, or are there restrictions on the stage of the company?
So, yeah, okay. The intent here is to support startups and early stage companies. However, legally, we cannot restrict this to anyone. If Northrop Grumman were to submit a proposal, we would have to consider it, and we would, if we like the idea, we would fund it. It is intended for early stage startups, but it is not restricted to them at all, and there's no penalty in the scoring if you're not an early stage company.
Yeah, I think that there were some innovation labs of larger entities that were interested in applying. So it could be some of that intrapreneurship, an entrepreneurs challenge.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of teaming and interest there. So it's almost startup entities within these larger organizations that were specifically interested.
Right.
I think what might be valuable to get some more clarification on and posting online is the statement that the government doesn't like to pay twice, and where some of those discrepancies may occur. The question that was posted in the Q&A was, how then would a winner of this competition be able to submit for SBIR Phase 1?
Oh, okay. Well, at the Innovation Opportunity Conference, which is SBIR, you would learn quite a bit about how to propose for Phase 1. I mean, I think this is a nice on-ramp into SBIR. You would take your idea that you fleshed out in this, call it a Phase 0 if you wanted to, and then it could be a great preparation for Phase 1. They're not connected. There's no connection to them, but I think that this would be a nice way to go from the prize competition into Phase 1. I think it's a great approach.
I think on the comment I made on you don't want to pay for the same thing twice is you got to recognize you guys are actually progressing and maturing a technology. What we don't want is if the government has paid for something and already received it, we're not going to pay for that again. And so we wouldn't pay for you to get to the same stage that you got in your SBIR 1, right?
Right.
That wouldn't, but you wouldn't win the award. Or same token, if you get awarded an SBIR Phase 1, they're going to expect you to progress to a new level, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in the tech programs, we see recycled proposals. They're submitted to one program and they submit the same thing to another program just to kind of throw it out there, and that's fine. But we as program managers, we have to make certain that we don't fund the two activities at the same thing at the same time. That would be not good for the taxpayers.
Okay, and another question that's in the Q&A is, are there links available for samples of the types of data that's available? And Rue, maybe you can kind of clarify this. Is it the Earth observation data that you're looking at? Is it specifically that AI category? I guess is it up to them to comb through the linked reports and their references to understand the types of data? Yes, on the EO side.
Yeah, I realize that's a lot to comb through. I understand, but specifically the Earth science data and the astrophysics, like the Kepler data, we can narrow it down for you. Sarah, if you could take a note, we can post more specific locations for the data.
Amazing. Okay. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Just a reminder to all the attendees, we'll have another AMA this time next Tuesday as well. So please continuously submit these questions. Hopefully this was valuable in understanding some of the nuances of the challenge and the categories that we're addressing. And we're happy to address them, especially as the deadline approaches. I know that more questions tend to come, but we're really excited to see some of the applications come in. We've seen quite a bit already and a good amount of interest too. So we appreciate everybody joining, and don't hesitate to reach out in the next week or so with more questions. Here we go. So there's a reminder that applications close in 10 days, and then the NASA Pitch Day or Entrepreneurs Challenge will be in 43 days on July 29th. All right, well, that is it from us. Please submit all other questions through the AMA on the website, and we look forward to reviewing all of your applications. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Steve and Florence.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.